And Gilbert Griffin, I'm really impressed with this interview today. I mean, it's really gone well being face-to-face with you.
Thank you.
I want to, in the next few months, have you back on for maybe 2-3 hours to really get into solutions and Freedom Force International and the types of moral power we can take on to tear down their major structures, and then, as I said, a much more limited government to guard against that, because the pure anarchists don't understand, in even bands of 5-6 nomadic humans, you're going to have a leader. And so you're always going to have centralization. Anarchy only goes on for about 5 hours. And then law of the jungle comes in. We need the good people, as Thomas Jefferson said, need to band together for limited government as a bulwark against the state and against organized crime. And I want to get more of your comments on that.
Well, boy, you go over so many things so fast, Alex, I can hardly keep track. All I can remember is the last thing you said, which is so true. Anarchy doesn't last. You said 5 hours. Okay, I would say 5 days, but what difference does that make? In conditions of anarchy, always the guy with the biggest muscle, the biggest fist, or the biggest weapon winds up dominating the system. King Rad, yeah. And so when you talk about this political spectrum, supposedly between total government on one end and zero government on the other, and you talk about gradients in between, what you're really talking about is if you take the ends of this and bend them up, and you make a circle out of it, so that instead of a straight line, you've bent that straight line up, and now it's a circle, and you see that the end of the line that represents zero government is now touching the other end of the line that represents total government, and that is what you're talking about, because under conditions of anarchy, in an instant you step over that line, and you are subject completely to the totalitarian dictatorship of the person with the biggest fist or the biggest weapon. They're Marxists, Leninists, because they're remembering that old line about Marx that the state will wither away. They actually believe that under conditions of mature socialism, Marx taught, well then mankind will have been reconditioned and retrained, and all of these evil characteristics have been weeded out, and now we can live in perfect harmony with each other.
But really it manifests 10 times worse.
Much worse, because there's always this leadership group. They call it the Communist Party or the Vanguard or the Proletariat. And there's always a leader for that.
The Central Committee.
The Central Committee.
But the utopia is never working because of the evil group that still has freedom across the road.
That's right. So they always have to have an enemy. So I think they're drawing this from the idea that the state somehow will wither away, and then people will live in peace without any government regulation of any kind. And it's a myth. It's totally contrary to human nature.
Just other key points about Freedom Force International, and then a few minutes, if you can, on the election, where that's going, what's happening right now with that. And I mean, we talked in the break, it's a total fiction, but how important it is to point out that it's a fiction.
Yeah, I'd like to flip those, if I may. Let's talk about that one first.
Sure.
That'll be somewhat my topic tonight at the university. And when I called the speech the Quigley Formula, I'm referring, of course, to Professor Carroll Quigley, who wrote the book Tragedy and Hope, and who was President Clinton's mentor when he was a student at Georgetown University. The significant thing about Quigley is that he was a collectivist. He was a historian for a secret society created by Cecil Rhodes that evolved over the years, still exists today, and in the United States its presence is known as the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm sure your audience is well aware of the Council on Foreign Relations and the fact that this small group, relatively small group of people, around 4,000 altogether, are actually the hidden rulers of the United States. So here is a guy, Quigley, who was the historian of this group, a very respected and prestigious professor at Georgetown University. And in his book, he raises the question. He says, how is it possible for us to have total control over the population for their own good? Obviously, it's always the collectivist theme, and yet let them think that they are participating in their own political destiny. No, they're not going to get rid of us because they want us in servitude. So that's the very issue he raises.
They need the power trip.
Well, they need the power trip, but they need the servants. They need the people to run the machine.
Well, they need the people left to torture, too.
Yes, well. But
because they're powerful. They've got to...
Yeah. That's true. Well, Quigley doesn't go into that, but he does deal with...
I've read Tragedy and Hope and Anglo-American Establishment.
Yeah, well, then you know the story.
But for those that don't, go ahead.
Yeah, and basically he says, how do we do this? And he says the answer is simple. He said, we form two major political parties, we run them both from behind the scenes, and we let them fight each other over minor issues so long as the electorate has to choose only between those two. Then it makes no difference which one wins. We always remain in firm control of the political system. That's what I'll be talking about tonight, because I think people need to know that the elections that are coming upon us here and all of this fierce debate between an Obama and a Clinton and I can't even think of the Republican's name.
Lord McCain.
McCain.
Bomb
McCain, yeah. It's all part of this very show that Quigley was talking about. And until Americans realize that the political parties, Republicans and Democrats, are merely two different branches of the same political party, they're never going to figure out what a solution to this problem is. They'll just be bounced back.
We've got to shatter the left-right paradigm. And if you listen to the corporate line, they're really trying to get everybody back into that. And they say that's why they like Obama. They say, we want to bring everybody back together. They mean bring the people back into the theater, bring them back into the false paradigm, bring them back into the simulation. It's key to fully shatter that so that they know those are false choices.
That's right. That's it exactly. It's a false paradigm. And yet, still, I would say 90% of the American people are falling for it. They like to align themselves either with, oh, he's a left-winger or he's a right-winger.
Well, I mean, it's what everybody's talking about at the water cooler, and these things suck you into these false debates.
Yeah, and it's really the left and the right wing of the same ugly bird, and that's collectivism, and that's my main theme. So I'll use that as a jumping place to get to the solution.
You bet. And Freedom Force International, what are some of the other bedrock, ideas?
Well, the bedrock idea is to get clear on a creed. What do we believe in? History is so full of examples where people have risen up, and at great cost in treasure and blood, they've overthrown.
Some new evil takes over.
And one just the same, or worse.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that it's easy for people to get focused on what they hate. They don't like this. They don't like that. Oh, we don't like this guy. We don't like...
Not just what we hate, but what we like.
But they don't know what they like. Well, what they think
I know what I like.
Well, these people, though I'm talking about, have no idea what they like.
I know. I mean,
they like him because he's a Republican or a Democrat, or because he's got nice teeth, or because they like his wife, or something like that. They have no concept of political ideology.
And I don't think the public realizes, they're starting to realize how life and death, how dangerous it is for your economy, for your checkbook, for your family, for your health, to let a bunch of wild control freaks be in control.
Yeah, all they care about is he sincere? Oh, I like his sincerity. I like what...
Yeah, let's be clear. Those are puppets. We need to... And that's what they hate. They love being called evil or love being called good, as long as they're the boss. But when you point out that a bunch of special interests with a scientific dictatorship are just using these as front dummies, they really hate being called puppets.
Oh, they don't like that at all. In fact, I think some of them don't even realize it, or don't want to realize it. They know, but they don't like to think about it.
But it's a responsibility. It's work for us. If we're going to live in peace, we have to, as you said, be in power and defeat these people. It's either they're going to beat us or we're going to beat them.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that the time has come for people to realize this is an either-or situation. And so anyway, back to my theme. It's very simple. You see, what can we do? First thing is we better be clear on what we believe in, not just what we're against. And that's where the importance comes in of the Creed of Freedom. And I urge people to come to our website and spend a little time. It's www.freedom-force.org. Org stands for organization, and flip over to the section that says Creed and spend a little time reading it. And that is our statement of goals. That's our statement of principle. That's the glue that holds our members together in 58 countries right now. It's the basis for our international brotherhood, Alex. Once we're in agreement on that, then we cannot be divided by nationality, by culture, by religion, by race, by economic status, by gender. All of these things become immaterial. We become a true international brotherhood. There's never been anything quite like it so far, of which I'm aware.
We need a counter guild of people that are invested in liberty, and we need to work with each other in business and network, and not just in political, but in business.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing that...
that loosed will, that paradigm, that frequency, that signature is much more powerful than the enemy.
Yes, and as long as we agree on what it is we believe in. That's been the missing ingredient. Oh, we're all for freedom, but...
I believe in family, the Second Amendment, free market, national sovereignty, free will. I do not believe in the CPS, corrupt police, wickedness, corrupt judges, all this. They have to be brought to justice. I think that's also important.
Well, I invite anybody who's interested in this theme, and I know all of your listeners are, to come to the site and read the Creed of Freedom and give it some thought. And then you'll see exactly what it is that unites us.
And I think what you're doing is the answer, but I think also, even if people don't even join your group, I think they should. But if there's other leaders out there who maybe a 20-year-old watching right now who's going to end up, being the leader, I'm not saying just one leader will do it, but maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back when we win. We may get executed, killed. Maybe 200 years from now you're watching this, in some illegal transmission, that sits into your bubble chip in your head. I mean, maybe you're out there watching right now. You need to understand that take these ideas, change it, modernize it, whatever you do. Just know that humanity, the species, needs to go on and be free and not have these control freaks destroy what we are. G. Edward Griffin, author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, freedom-force.org, speaking at UT tonight. It's been great having you. Look forward to talking to you.
Alex, thank you so much, my friend. Good to meet you after all this time.